It's Friday, so why not be outside? Welcome to the Trent England Show. If you are listening to the podcast, I am standing on the corner just a couple hundred yards away from our normal studio where we do the Trent England Show, and just down the street from the state capitol. I could see it but for the trees to my right here. But behind me, I wanted to do the show outside today, not just because it's Friday, not just because the legislature, yes, indeed, did adjourn sine die last night. They are done. The regular legislative session for Oklahoma 2018 is over. But we're not just celebrating. I wanted you to be able to see what I see, what I saw coming to work today. The construction crane that you can see over my, my right shoulder on your left there at the OU Medical Center. Look, I know we have viewers and listeners all over the great state of Oklahoma, people who see all kinds of different things. I wanted you to see what I see because, look, and we have an ambulance reminding us that this is that this is the medical center here. You know, this is what happens when we do our live programming out in the field here on the Trent England Show. When they say they're strapped for cash, right? What's fascinating, one of the things I think is fascinating about politics up at the Capitol, a lot of the legislators who claim that the state is most strapped for cash actually come from Stillwater and Norman and Oklahoma City and Tulsa. When you drive around and you look at the institutions of higher learning, so-called, when you look at our hospitals, these hospital complexes. Now, look, I'm not saying this applies everywhere. It applies to career tech everywhere around the state. I'm not saying it applies to every hospital around the state. I'm not saying it even applies to every college around the state. But the bottom line is there is a lot of money. Every single hospital, every hospital complex, even the private ones that you pass out there, a lot of their funding is coming from Medicaid and Medicare. A lot of their funding is government funding, even if they are private hospitals. That's why they lobby so hard for things like Obamacare, Medicaid expansion, right? We've seen that over and over again in Oklahoma, lobbying for more government funding because that's where a lot of their funding comes from at these hospital complexes. We have, again, University of Oklahoma medical complex behind us, another construction crane going up. They've been building building after building after building, year after year there, and yet the lobbyists for OU, the lobbyists for big healthcare continually go to the state capitol and plead poverty and claim that they're strapped for cash. And look, I want to remind us as I wrap up, it's just a short Friday Trent England show here. A lot of this is they're able to do this. Partly it's just dishonesty. I know a lot of people say, well, they're just being dishonest. But partly it's also because of funding silos. Again, and you get this in healthcare just like you get it in K-12 education. You get this in higher ed just like you get this in K-12 education, right? You have these funding silos. They create these funding silos. You know what they always tell us? When we from OCPA go down and ask at OU or ask at OSU, well, how can you say you're strapped for cash when you're building these luxury dormitories, when you're creating Club Med for 18-year-olds? How dare you demand that taxpayers pay more? And they always say, well, this is private money, this is donor money, this is foundation money, this money comes from somewhere else. They say that when they pay vulgar rappers to come and perform on campus. Well, that's money from the foundation, or that's money from student fees. Look, it's all fungible. It's all money that's being spent by a state institution. It's all money that ultimately they ought to be accountable to us, to the taxpayers and citizens and voters of the great state of Oklahoma, whether it's OU Medical Center or Career Tech or anybody else. They shouldn't be allowed to hide the ball, hide the dollars, to tell us, well, we get to waste that money because that money comes from somewhere else, right? That's a game that we shouldn't have to play. Thankfully, we skated through the legislative session without big bailouts and, the kind of things that the big hospitals and higher ed lobby for, without big bailouts and big influxes and windfalls to some of these agencies. But we know they're going to be back at it again. We know they're going to be lobbying hard even during the campaign season that is just really just getting underway here in Oklahoma. And we need to understand how to push back. We all need to know about the construction cranes here in Oklahoma City, down in Norman, up in Stillwater, wherever they are around the state. Look, I'm glad to have beautiful buildings and beautiful institutions, but I'm not glad when the people building those buildings and institutions at the same time are pushing to raise our taxes. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's honest. Thank you for watching the Trent England Show. Have a wonderful weekend. The legislature is done for the year. We'll keep following and keep you informed whether there really is going to be a special session. I told you yesterday that there were already some rumors swirling about that. That wouldn't be for a couple of months. That's my prediction. And if you watched the show yesterday, you know I had some theories about why they were saying that and why it may not happen no matter what. But you can go back and watch yesterday's show if you're curious about that. I'm Trent England. Remember to follow us on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all over the place, especially on Facebook. That's where I enjoy getting messages from you, sharing thoughts and tips and information, feedback. Very valuable to us here on the program. Thanks again for watching.